Okay, thank you everybody for your patience. We are back in open session. Are we all set, Kevin? Great, thank you very much. Okay, so public comment. Mr. McClellan, would you please come up? Yeah, he speaks fairly loudly. If you just tap here, the red light should go on. There you go, you're on. Thank you. Name and address just for our record, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of Select Board. My name is Craig McClellan. I reside at 8 Rustic Drive. I'm here as a member of the public, but also in my capacity as a school committee member, just to inform the town that really not too long ago, I learned, speaking with the superintendent of schools, Sarah Shannon, that in collaboration with the town has informed the schools that it was able to identify additional monies through the overlay account, healthcare savings, and other concessions made by other departments that have helped to assist the schools. And in addition to that, we've also learned of unanticipated retirements amongst the faculty that will realize savings and enable the school district to significantly and materially mitigate the amount of educator reductions that we were anticipating. So most human beings will be retained by the district. Further details will be provided by the superintendent of schools at tomorrow night's school committee meeting. And I just wanted to let the town know about that right now, because it was obviously something of concern, and education in our schools are very important to our community. And I wanted to let everyone know that at the forefront of the select board's meeting. And anyone that's interested can tune into the school committee meeting, either virtually or in person. It starts at 6 p.m. tomorrow, and it takes place in the Learning Commons at the high school.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Public comment? Yes, please come up, name and address for the record. We're all set, the red light's on.
Hi, I'm Dan McWigan, 16 Stockbridge Street here in Cohasset. I guess the only comment I would make is, as a citizen that's relatively new to the town, moved here 5 years ago, raise my taxes as much as we need to, do whatever we can budget-wise, so we don't have to wait for final hour. People have to retire. Maybe they didn't want to, stuff Craig was just saying. I don't move to this town for small taxes. People don't come to this town they come for the schools, the beaches, and the quality of life. I feel like the schools are a big part of that quality of life, and I would love for the leadership of this town to be as proactive as possible to prevent getting this close to major cuts. It sounds like we're still going to have some cuts, most humans being retained, not all. So as a concerned citizen myself, I just want to get that out there. I don't care about paying taxes. I care about good schools and having a good quality of life for the kids that I have in this town. I've got a 6 and a 3-year-old. So just want to put that out there publicly for people to hear. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Any other public comment?
Anyone online?
Notes? Okay.
Online, coming in late.
Okay. Are they there?
There's 2 people on this, so Board from Smurf.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, name and address, please, for the record.
Theodora Mara, 75 Pleasant Street. Just wanted to echo my disappointment of the recent Cohasset Public Schools planned reduce staffing and increase class sizes, limit curriculum and resources. I understand that there have been some very recent changes, but this set me into quite a shock last week. So just wanted to express my sentiment and disappointment.
Okay, thank you.
One more person.
Okay.
Hi.
Name and address. Sorry, go ahead.
Yep. Cassandra Dragon Archambault, 290 Beechwood Street. If the town's allowable levy growth is insufficient to maintain level services in Cohasset Public Schools, the responsible response is to address that structural constraint directly through an operational override. If the town chooses not to pursue an override, it should be acknowledged plainly that the resulting reductions represent a policy decision to provide fewer educational services to students. It would also mean accepting the loss of dedicated teachers and staff who have invested their professional lives in this community and whose work is central to the success of our schools. This is a decision that needs to be agreed upon by the school committee and the select board. And I'm looking for your support in this matter tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And no one else. Okay. Great. So we will move on to the first order of business. We have a vote to ratify the police superior officers contract and the police union, the DPW. So may I have a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement by and between the town of Cohasset and the Cohasset Police Association and EPBA Local 84? Mr. Grady moved it. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement by and between the town of Cohasset and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Council 93, Local 1395, Unit B, Public Works?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And one more. May I have a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement between the town of Cohasset and the United Federation of Police Officers Local 143 covering July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2028?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we are voted and ratified all three contracts. Bear with me while I make a note, please. Please. Okay. Next up, the emergency declaration, a discussion and a vote. So, Mr. Pratt, very nice.
Good evening. Thank you.
Name and address for the record.
Glenn Pratt, 472 King Street, Cohasset. Tonight, we wanted to formalize our declaration of state of emergency for the snowstorm that occurred last week. Local states of emergency are authorized under the Civil Defense Act of 1950. So it's been around for a long time. What it does is it gives us the authority to overspend a budget if we have to. It sets aside some of the permitting timelines temporarily, and it also sets aside some procurement requirements, enabling us to respond in a timely fashion. It also allows us to transfer and move employees from one department to another if needed, in spite of contract language. So it's very good to have, and because we have it, we were able to get two requests from MEMA for help. MEMA sent 4 National Guard troops here the day after the storm to cut trees. And they also provided some salt, which is that we were desperate for. We had Michelle has a long detailed report for later, but just a couple of highlights is that we had an unbelievable amount of 911 calls in the period of the storm, or something approaching 200 calls to 911, which is a lot. And another 150 plus calls directly to our DPW line. So it's very busy, very active. The other thing that happened too is that we had a long time agreement in place with a gasoline provider in town, and our fuel point went down one day, so we were able to continue on with that we had in place. But all of that is allowed because we have. So I have the form to sign unless you have it. It's something like. I will need this for my FEMA reimbursement,
Yep.
stuff like that. So
I need this.
I don't.
You don't need this.
I don't think so.
Okay, I just need a motion to approve the emergency declaration.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Erin has a signed copy.
Look it up. Great.
I just have one question. Is this specific to the event, the blizzard, or if we have another one this weekend, does this remain in?
Well, that's your decision, but it probably is better to declare separate.
Okay.
Yeah,
If we were to have a hurricane and we would have to declare.
Yeah, you
Okay.
have to do it because the language when you get under the covers really starts to be
Okay.
more specific.
Okay. That's fine. I wasn't, I haven't had one since I've been on the board.
So the last one we did was for COVID.
Oh,
The state is going to try to apply to FEMA for federal disaster declaration. That requires them asking every city and town what their damages and what their expenses are, and what their costs are. And then it rolls up there's a threshold for each county that you have to roll up to. If each county meets their threshold, then you can combine the state, all counties, and see whether the state meets their threshold. It's very, very high to get a federal disaster declared. But if we do, we're ready to go. We have, in my tenure as emergency management director, this will be my 20th application to FEMA for reimbursement. So we know how to be ready, so if they say go,
Is there any caveat for the town of Cohasset measuring into Plymouth County as opposed to Norfolk County? Because our physical demographics are more.
By the looks of what you see for snow totals and stuff in this storm, we're probably going to do just better being in Norfolk, because a lot of those towns way down and, Franklin and Easton and all those towns way down that way got a lot more here,
Okay.
Plymouth County gets a big boost of Marshfield and Situate and like that because see, but yeah. So,
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Okay. Next up, appointment to the Social Recycling Cooperative as an alternative member for a 3-year term, Tracy Connors. Is she on?
Let's see.
Okay. Is this?
Yeah.
Is this a new appointment?
So the last appointment was held by Ashley Kenny. When she moved on, there was an open position. It's typically held by the administrative assistant down at DPW.
Okay. Okay. Does anyone have any comments or questions?
No.
Do I have a motion to approve Tracy Connors as the alternative member for a 3-year term to the Social Recycling Cooperative?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving along. Plus, I'm 3 minutes ahead of schedule.
Keep going.
I keep going. Okay, next up is the Cohasset Youth Baseball and Softball Association event, the Little League Parade, Saturday, May 2nd, 2026, 7:30 to 4. We have Chief Quigley on. I have fond memories of my sons riding the fire truck as proud members of the A's, which I don't think they have the A's anymore.
Sign of spring. This is a recurring event, and we have it pretty well locked down. And as we get closer to it, we'll fine tune the plan. But I see no problem, and I recommend the board vote to issue a entertainment license and a event permit.
Because they have a microphone and speakers at Barnes Field
Correct. Yes.
for the events. Yeah. Okay. And so the parade doesn't go until 4, but the event goes until 4. I don't want people in Cohasset thinking, because the application is 7:30 to 4 for the Little League Parade.
The parade is right at the beginning, from the common to the Little League field, and then it's all contained within the field for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? No, no? Okay. We have a motion to grant an entertainment license to the CYBSA Little League Parade.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. May I have a motion to approve the permit for the CYBSA event, the Little League Parade?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay, great. Are you up for the next one too?
Yep, I am.
Okay. So next up is an application for a common victualler's license for Lunch and Thrive at 152 King Street in Cohasset, Massachusetts. Chief, you went through the application?
I'm sorry. I thought this was an event permit. I do not do the common vics. But I can tell you there's been no trouble there.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions on this? No? Okay. Is this just one, a victualler? Just one. Okay. Could I have a motion to approve the Lunch and Thrive common victualler license?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now I think you're up, Chief, for the what?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. The I always want to say inebriated, but it's
It's a tricky name,
Inebri, yeah, the Art Summer 2026 discussion vote. I recall last year was their first year on the Common. I think it's 6 selected Saturdays throughout the late spring, early summer, maybe even into the fall.
Correct. And this is year two of it. We had no problems last year, and this was these folks were solicited by, I believe, the planning department to take up the helm from Farmers Market, sort of like a farmers market type thing. But it was successful last year and no impacts to traffic.
And I am here.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Oh, Andy Driscoll. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And any additional comments you want to make about how did last year go?
The first few months were rained out, but we're looking forward to having another good year. And it took us a while to kind of get it going in Plymouth, and we see a lot of potential, and it was a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it this year.
Okay. Anything that you would do differently, or in terms of your logistics, did you say, well, we tried this and this didn't work?
The one thing that we've been kind of kicking around, and I kind of wanted just to see the board's opinion on this. We have talked with Untold Brewery and Stellwagen about the possibility of them maybe doing a beer garden section, but I wasn't sure. Like, I don't want to overstep the bounds. If that's something that the town would think would be a benefit, then we could look further into that. But I didn't want to kind of broach that subject without kind of getting your opinions first.
Well, first off, each day would require a 1-day liquor license.
Yes, I'm aware.
Yeah. And it would be on the common, kind of I don't know, Chief, I'm going to defer to you on this.
We can definitely make it work. We've worked with those brewing companies before. They run a quality operation, and it's just if the board has the appetite for it, we can make it work.
Okay. I just be worried about containment and walking around with open containers. They have
to keep it.
No, fair point. But these vendors, they're professional. They really are, and they do lock things down. And the Arts Fest has used them before, and several light keepers and things like that. They're really good. It's professionally run, that's for sure.
Yeah, when you have a beer garden for the alcohol ABCC licensing, it has to be enclosed, so you can't have people just wandering around. It has to be within an enclosed area, and there's an amount of people who can be within that sort of bullpen, and then they have to monitor that and make sure that they don't go over. So that's the one thing the art festival does, but any beer garden has those parameters.
All right. So, Mr. Driscoll, I'd recommend that you maybe liaise with Chief Quigley and talk about the logistics of how you would do it. And I know we have a rule on how far in advance you have to grant a permit, but maybe you select 2 dates and we give it a trial to see how it goes.
Sure.
And then we can move on from there. But tonight we'll make a motion to approve your event. I'm glad it was successful. I think anything we can do to engage people on our beautiful common is a good thing. So can I have a motion to approve the Inebriate Art Summer Event, April 11th, 2026, May 9th, 2026, July 11th, 2026, August 8th, 2026, September 9th, 2026, and October 10th, 2026.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Congratulations, Mr. Driscoll.
Thank
And
you.
come back to us if you work out having a beer garden.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, next up is an update on the Village Historical District Study Committee, and I see our representative just arrived.
I made it with 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Yeah, please come up.
I don't have anything formal.
Would you just, I'm sorry,
I'm sorry.
name and address?
Yes, I'm sorry. My name is S. Woodworth Chittick, 98 South Main Street in Cohasset.
Thank you.
And I'm chair of the Cohasset Village Historic District Study Committee, which is a mouthful, and also serve on the zoning board for a few years. So I just wanted to post you because you have empowered this committee, and we haven't reported into you before. And I'd just like to kind of bring you quickly up to speed in terms of the fact that we are functioning and progressing, and a rough timetable, what's been accomplished so far, and where we go from here. We first convened about a year ago in the spring, and there was a lot of come up time. We had to evaluate what the village would be. A lot of the village is historic village is obvious. I think it really runs from Depot Court down to the Red Lion Inn, over on Elm Street, and back up. The other thing that a lot of people don't realize in town is that we have had for 48 years an historic district already, which is the town common. And there is a commission. It doesn't need to meet very often because I think everybody there is very much in sync with the fact that preservation, protection is a wise economic decision. And I think we have been meeting individually with a lot of the stakeholders in the village. There are three groups, I would suggest. There's property owners, there are business proprietors, and there's a little overlap, but not much. And some of the property owners are not residents, in fact, of Cohasset. And the third group are residents. There are more residents than you really think about, but I think somewhere around 25 to 30 people live there, either in a few condos or in apartments up and down, primarily South Main Street. At any rate, we have been meeting with them and had a forum a week ago. It wasn't very well attended, but we did reach out to everybody in the village, and there are some 60 to 70 what I would call stakeholders between the property owners, the business owners, and residents. And we have learned a couple of things. First of all, there are maybe it's a legacy issue. There are some misconceptions about what the State Historic District Commission is allowed to do and not allowed to do. Some of that is because 60 years ago, 66 years ago, 1960, the law first came into effect, and it was well-intentioned, in my estimation, not very well designed. They were very rigid. You've got to have cedar shingles on your roof, and you got to do this and that, and it became economically untenable. And since then, a lot has changed. The state has still empowered these commissions quite a bit, but on a guideline basis. And so we're trying to talk to people about what makes sense for Cohasset. And the first misconception is that somehow we're going to make or insist that downtown Cohasset becomes Colonial Williamsburg. No, absolutely not. It's to preserve whatever exists there. If it's a 1960 building or a 1760 building, there's a kind of a compatibility, I think, between those architectural styles. And the second thing is that these early commissions, I'm afraid, were very authoritarian. I will use as an example of what I think the town should follow, although we're not prepared to make firm recommendations, is the philosophy that Duxbury follows, which is that anybody that has an application that is going to modify, add to a property, you presume we're going to approve it. Maybe not right out of the box, but we're there to approve things, not to deny applications. And I think that's a very sensible way to proceed. So one of our charges after we talk to the stakeholders is to present a study report to the state and to you folks. And part of that will be some rough guidelines, parameters. Are we going to say you can't paint your building purple or whatever? I mean, that some of this stuff goes too far, I must say. But the other thing I will say, and that encourages me, is that in talking to various other towns, Plymouth is another great example. They, about 1990, downtown Plymouth installed one of these historic districts. And 3 times since then, the most recent being in 2016, they have had property owners not in the district coming to the town saying, please include us, because we're protecting the value of what we have. And it's not so much the, they're not design police, but these groups are saying, and what happened in Plymouth is that there was an historic building that was, the new owner from out of town wanted to raise it and put a steel and plate glass structure there. And of course, tourism is its lifeblood, really, in Plymouth, economic lifeblood. And people said, we want to preserve our own value, the value of our property. It's not that we want to deny somebody else the right to make reasonable changes. So we're kind of trying to socialize this process, deal with misconceptions, what you can and can't do, and also help people understand and have them help us understand what is reasonable.
What happened with the Plymouth building? Now you got me interested.
Well, what happened is that, in fact, it went through town meeting before the building got totally changed. It was down near the waterfront. It wasn't up on the main street with these, and everybody was very happy because, you know, Plymouth looks colonial, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, and I think we have a gem in the village. It's in doing a survey of both our various neighborhoods and other towns. I would suggest that of all the shorefront towns on Mass Bay, we're probably one of the 5 or 6, at least per capita, towns with the oldest array of buildings going. It's really unusual. Maybe that's because Cohasset was, dare I say it, a bit of a backwater for its first 200 years. I mean, it was, but you know, it's pretty. What?
Sure.
And I mean, things are humming. I mean, you know, you can't find a parking space. I mean, the restaurants are all booked, and it's great for the town, and that's why people come here. I don't mean but the restaurants, but for the ambiance, the
Charm.
The charm. And you grew up in a house that's a couple hundred years old, my next door neighbor, and so on and so forth. And those houses retain their value. And there's a lot of evidence to that. So what we're trying to do is not strong arm this thing. We're trying to, I meet with people, I talk to them really almost on an individual one-on-one basis and say, you can do certain things. No, you know, you're protected from arbitrary decision-making, so on and so forth. But it's good to preserve your property. My biggest concern, and I'm probably eaten my 5 minutes up about 10 minutes ago, but is not so much the people that own the properties today, but if you come in from outside, you may not appreciate quite what Cohasset has to offer in terms of, you know, its charm, its style, its the fact that we do have different eras of buildings, and that's fine, it works in Cohasset because people buy in here because they care about the value. And there's nothing that destroys value more than if somebody or something comes in and radically changes the style of. So we're not running into any problems with business proprietors. I mean, I don't,
Oh, so existing.
on wood, but no.
So what if there's a new, I mean, the gas station is kind of
Yeah, well,
the white elephant down there.
that's the poster child.
Yeah. And what if someone who's purchased it and wants to develop it under the previous permit wants to do steel and glass?
Well, right now they can, because we don't have an historic district down in the village. As I say, we do in the common. In the future, it would be do something that's appropriate for the neighborhood, but it doesn't have to look like it was built in 1770.
Right.
It could look like it was built in 1980 or 90 or whatever the right year is, but don't have it be an eyesore. And, you know, the original design, if you don't mind my saying so, you know, was hugely massive. And it was, I think it would have.
It looked like it could have been anywhere.
Yeah. And it, you know, it's good economics to fit in and be compatible. And so what an historic district should not do is try to go back in time, you know, go back to the future, but just preserve and protect.
Right.
And it's not to restore, if I can say, it's not about restoration. It's about preservation. And so we are proceeding apace. My hope is that we can have a study done and submitted to the, with your approval, of course, at the right moment, to the Mass Historic Commission, and have that approved and then ready for fall town meeting. But we have nothing, at this point, we're in a data gathering mode, and we're also in an explanation mode. And I think that's kind of a soft approach to this thing as opposed to we've got all the answers and you're going to do it this way. So I just wanted to let you know, the other thing is that we have a budget this year of $10,000. I think we'll come in a little bit under that. Next year, hopefully we have a completed budget of another 15, and everything is predicated on a not to exceed basis. So we'll come in under, not over.
Great. Any questions?
Just a comment. I just thank you for the work that you're doing in the committee. And we have an excellent, and if you know off the top of your head, if you could name the other members of the committee.
Oh,
knows it as well, because we've got quite a group there.
Okay, most certainly, as is typical of most boards, 7 members. I am but one. I don't know if I can do this alphabetically. I'll go kind of in my head around the room. One of the members is Doug McGregor, who is an investor in Salty Days, Seabird, and some other businesses. So he represents the business owners, I think, and he's and we need that input. Another person is Martin St. John, who's on the Historic Commission. Paula Morse, who's from the Historical Society. Mary Beische, who's a realtor. She's representing the realtors in town. We have, oh my God, don't let me forget anything. Jackie. Well, no, actually, Jackie Dormiser, no.
I want to be honest.
Yeah, no, she's sort of ex officio.
Yep.
And another ex officio is John Coffey, who's chair of the Common Historic District. What? Clark Brewer is an architect who's representing, you know, that sort of technical. And we also have Todd Goff, who's an historic preservationist and an architect. So we have a pretty good representation of people that are, you know, bring some professional qualities as well as some people who have a stake in the game. And I don't want to sort of jinx it by saying that it's a smooth we're on a smooth glide here, but I do think it's a question of meeting and finding out what people's concerns are. We had a meeting last week and somebody came in and said, my friend told me to oppose this because we have to put in windows with cords and things. No, absolutely not. If you can't see it, you can't prevent it. And you can't dictate what goes on inside a building. It has to be anything that's regulated or at least advised has to be visible by the public, not an expert with binoculars, from 30 feet away on a public way or a sidewalk or something.
Last thing I was going to say is thank you. And I think it's terrific and long overdue. As you said, we have the Common Historic Commission, and of course the village is connected right to it. So this will flow nicely when it's done. And if we look at how the Common has been preserved over the years with all the houses around it, Cohasset's done it before and it's worked, and the Common is the gem. I think any realtor will tell you that the Common has sold more houses in Cohasset than anything else. When people drive by and they drive to the downtown, they see the Common, they're sold before they even see the house. So I think getting the village is going to be greatly important to get in under this, and it'll hopefully preserve it for years to come. And it's long overdue.
And it's a good economic plus for the stakeholders. Mm-hmm. Everybody benefits. So I just wanted to let you know we are working, but it's sort of somewhat under the radar screen. I mean, that's probably a bad metaphor, but we're working, but trying to deal with individuals because people have heard different things, good or bad, and we're trying to also find out what's right for Cohasset.
Mr. Grady, any comments?
No, you're doing a fine job.
Thank you. Yeah, I would recommend, to dispel, in the absence of the Mariner, we have, people think they have to put a cord right.
Yeah,
I would suggest that, and I'm sure listening, Carol Meyer could do something for, the anchor.
Okay. Well, I would love that because, I'm going to leave you this. So this is, I tried to have this mailed to everybody. It turned out not.
Be very.
Whoops, sorry, everybody. What's a little money? But, tried to get it, but yeah, we do need to get this out more, but I think a lot of it is going to be what we're going to try to do coming up is when the farmers market comes back in place. We'd like to get permission to maybe once a month have a table there and just staff it, and if people are curious, we'd like to do some other kind of.
Yeah, I know it's short notice, but the Cohasset Recreation Fair, it's Sunday, March 22nd.
Oh.
When I had talked about it was Saturday. I saw the flashing sign. Yeah.
March 22nd. Okay.
22nd. I'm sure you could probably talk to.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I'd love to do that because I've gone as a citizen, but in the past.
All right. Well, when you have, another update, probably mid to late summer.
Okay.
Please let the town manager's office.
Yeah.
know,
If Michelle or whomever would reach out to us and say, could you be here blank, we'd be more than happy to come and present, and probably present in a more formal fashion. But I just wanted to let you know that we were alive and well and
we appreciate it.
Doing our thing.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you, by the way, for initiating this, because I wasn't part of the initiation.
Well, you can thank Mrs. Stormitzer.
I know, but thank you.
Yep, sure. Okay, next up is the FY27 IT budget. Is Mr. Menard online?
Good evening, folks. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Menard. Thank you for joining us.
I appreciate your time tonight, giving me a few minutes to talk about the FY27 IT budget and some impacts. What I'd like to do is maybe run through 5 or 6 slides for you, if that's okay, and it'll give you an overview of where the concerns and the impacts are in the 3 budgets, and potentially maybe ask some questions afterwards to drill down a little bit further if necessary.
Sure. Perfect.
Slide 2, please. So I'd like to touch on the following. There's 3 IT budgets, including the central infrastructure budget, the municipal budget, and the Cohasset Public Schools budget. Something we'd like to do today also is talk about benchmarking, something that we do from time to time, but really hasn't been publicized as to how Cohasset IT stacks up against other communities with regards to our IT department, the services we render for the town and constituents. And, what does that look like from a cost perspective? I have the fortune of being to work with the South Shore IT Collaborative, which essentially is 25 other towns and IT directors and CIOs, and we share data quite a bit. We have, quarterly meetings at the very least, and we discuss the hurdles and some of the initiatives. And it's really a good source to see where we are in relation to other towns and the services they provide. Slide 3, please. So the IT budget composition and the CIO directives haven't changed a lot over the years. The FY27 budget composition includes salaries, expense lines, comprising management of hardware or service level agreements that are associated with that hardware, software support, and personnel. We currently have 4.5 full-time equivalent personnel in the department, and those positions are funded through the central infrastructure budget and the Cohasset Public School tech budget. In 2015, the select board directed the CIO to included the need to implement technologies in an effective and cost-effective manner, yielding organizational efficiencies while also offering better constituent services through technology adoption. Our goals have always been to make government operations more streamlined and robust while ensuring our systems remain viable and secure. Digital literacy back in the day was one of the top goals for Cohasset Public Schools. At the time, it was just scratching the surfaces of how to go about doing that, and we spent an enormous amount of time and funding on infrastructure to make that happen. Additionally, there were some town municipal processes that needed to also be updated, and consolidation of duplication was also attacked, and we also made efficiencies there as well. Slide 4, please. So the specific budgets are 155, 156, and 315. These are all technology budgets, and 2 of them are more or less proprietary to the sector that they serve. So 315 being the Cohasset Public School tech budget, 156 being the municipal budget, and 155, in my opinion, being the most critical budget, is the backbone of Cohasset's technology. The specific budgets include central infrastructure, as I mentioned. This is being submitted with reductions in funding for specific services. The central infrastructure budget is used to maintain 98% of the common infrastructure all departments utilize. This budget has 3 significant reductions proposed this year. First is the elimination of third-party services tied to our firewalls. The management of those firewalls will now be absorbed back into the Deputy CIO job matrix, requiring the DCIO to prioritize patching and software updates on a scheduled basis. The cost avoidance for that service coming back in-house is about $26,000. That's roughly what we're paying a vendor to do that for us right now. That was done back in 2025, or fiscal 25, I should say, in an effort to try to recapture some badly needed labor hours in IT so that we could move further with some of our goals and initiatives. Additionally, reductions in funding in fiber management will also be required to achieve the desired budget. Cost avoidance there is approximately $4,000. Lastly, the device replacement schedule funding is being proposed via a CapEx account for this year with capital budget's approval. This required capital outlay is funded to replace outdated, old, or failing devices, excuse me, and/or hardware on a predetermined life cycle. All other line items within the central infrastructure budget will be funded adequately to maintain the Cohasset Technology tenant that we utilize to supply services. Other central infrastructure budget lines include phone systems, wide area networks, ISP connectivity, service level agreements for all hardware and software, and security systems. Despite some service level increasing over 200%. And I'll talk a little bit about that if you'd like. There's a company called Broadcom. If you're in the stock market, you know them as a high-end tech company. They've bought up a lot of solutions. One of the solutions that we utilize is a virtual server environment called VMware. They obtained that, and I believe their model and their goal is to eliminate small and medium-sized businesses leveraging that solution by increasing the service level agreements at an exponential cost that probably will be outside our budget next year. As it went from an $8,000 line item to a $25,000 line item, and that was after negotiations. So we are looking at alternatives. Microsoft presents a virtual environment called Hyper-V. It is a big lift to move from one to the other, but we are exploring that in an effort to try to cut costs in FY28. Where are we? The municipal budget, 156, is funded at a level service budget with minimal increases totaling 2% in FY27. The town IT muni budget, as I call it, removes $4,000 in cybersecurity training funding as a state grant supplied another optional funding vehicle for this need. So we train our personnel on a cybersecurity solution that used to cost us $8,000. We've been able to tap into a state grant that now pays for that. So we were able to recover $4,000 out of the 155 budget and $4,000 out of the school budget, which had split that cybersecurity training costs. Additionally, the new cemetery software solution service level agreement is now being added to the 156 budget. That will offset the cost savings of $4,000 we recovered from the grant. So we are just about breaking even in that particular budget. The CPS Tech budget at this point is unverified. It's a work in progress, but we assume at this juncture, the school's tech budget will be cut upwards of about 7%. Cumulatively, all three budgets total about $1.487 million to supply technology across the entire town. This supports every single department's goals at this point. In the past 3 years, ITS has seen some amount of this funding being redirected due to budget freezes as early as December in some cases, yielding approximately 30%, upwards of $300,000 in funding being redirected to other areas or needs within the organization. So we'll touch on that a little bit later. We continue to keep the lights on, however, despite these deep cuts, and even made some great strides this past year to achieve the directives set by the select board in the form of efficiencies and integrations while reducing operating costs. Slide 5, please. Budget benchmarks. So what we've done is we've begun sharing data through a Mass Tech Directors site, which gives us a great deal of firsthand data and information that we share along the South Shore community and in the Boston area as well, the metro area. Contrasting services we in ITS provide town versus the services offered in other towns is our goal, in the associated budgets allocated in those towns being put up against the budget I just mentioned. When comparing Cohasset's service level offerings, including Unified Technology Tenant, which is a staple of Cohasset's technologies, we see some favorable contrasting results. Cohasset, through the technologies adopted, as well as the shared central IT model the town leverages to support every department, we see cost avoidance or reduced spends in comparison to other South Shore communities offering similar services. As the slide indicates, we are seeing in the neighborhood of 12 to 38% less spending or less funding, similar in services to offerings in other towns. The perceptions from internal staff, that is our customers, and the vendors we work with suggest that ITS has a skill set and support expertise to support the entire town, including a diverse needs of each department while managing 98% of the central infrastructure internally without costly third-party services or SLAs. I'd like you to consider the point of information, and that is allocations don't always assume a commensurate expenditure. Funding turnbacks and budget freezes for the last few years often included redirecting tech allocations partway through the year, requiring ITS to apply more creative ways to resolve issues. While reviewing the town-wide technology services and use, it's difficult to interact with the town without some form of technology playing a role. IT efficiencies include building an integrated baseline budget this year that meets all constituent needs. Despite ongoing budget freezes and turnbacks, Cohasset Technologies continue to add value to our residents' services. Slide 6, please. The takeaways, hopefully, are that the central infrastructure budget is a shared budget, which is instrumental in offering tenant services for all departments. This is a key factor in allowing flexibility in the other two proprietary tech budgets. The lion's share of the spend is the infrastructure that we pay for. And believe it or not, and I could share this at another date if you'd like, but we've spent pennies on the dollar with regards to how we built out this infrastructure. I recall back meeting with Capital 10 years ago, debating how we would, interconnect buildings and put up phone systems and wide area networks. And to date, with all the expenditures and everything, we've saved millions of dollars by installing our own fiber infrastructure as opposed to paying third-party providers to do point-to-point paid connectivity for us. So that was one example. A measure of value, you may have your own ideas on measuring value, but the fact is value ITS offers is often hidden in success of other departments' services that they supply. The efficiencies and the cost avoidance is demonstrated in conjunction with the solutions created through technology. Automated workflows, interactive e-forms, in-house GIS support are a few examples of those solutions supported while adding indirect value to constituent services. Grants have also been a foundational component to funding many initiatives. To date, and most recently, we've accumulated over $600,000 in grants over the last 5 years that has allowed us to meet our goals while reducing cost. Cost reductions and avoidance are always one of the top considerations when having dialogues with managers. We are always looking to offer better services. I mean, that's the bottom line. Everything that we do, the cost of it, the return on investment is always on the top two of our tier when looking at these solutions and trying to meet our departments and our constituent needs. Slide 7, please. So I'd just like to thank you for this opportunity to update you on the projected FY27 technology budget and the value we believe we deliver for all constituents. I ask that you take the time to read the ITS annual report being submitted this year. I think you received a copy of that in OneDrive. This document offers additional insights into FY27 IT budgeting and the services ITS presents. And that's my presentation for you.
Great. Thank you very much. Any questions, Mr. Farag?
Thanks. I just had a quick one. The first one is I just want to talk about, or have you talk about briefly, IT's interplay regarding when there's an emergency. So such as where we just had the last emergency with the blizzard, and what IT does to connect everybody to make sure that we can have the meetings between the chief of police, the emergency personnel, and the other town officials that need to be called in during an emergency like that, because there was many people without power for multiple days during that. So some people might be able to come in on Zoom with it, but of course, if you don't have power, that might be tough to do. So if you could just tell us a little bit about how IT plays into emergency situations.
And so we try to offer as many redundant services as possible. We have a number of options. And again, with some of this is on the preface that you actually have power and that you can communicate in that manner. But we have, Zoom, obviously, that we're using. We have Microsoft Teams. There's a number of different communication mediums as far as getting information out there. I know the Emergency Management Center uses Rave, I believe it is. That's a new notification system. We have the Microsoft 365 suite that gives us additional abilities to communicate amongst the emergency management or SEMA team. We have spent a fair amount of time. In fact, this is something we're extremely proud of integrating solutions and communications using our eForms in our GIS platform. So we can literally have personnel in the field these days updating data or maps live in real time and passing that information along to the people who need it to make emergency decisions. So we've done some things that are pretty cool, especially in this last year when it comes to integration for those types of services.
Great, thank you. And my next question is regarding IT, with the amount of time that you spend, approximately how much of your time do you spend supporting the school services, whether it be refurbishing laptops or dealing with IT with the teachers and things of that nature?
I would say that probably, and I could pull specific reports on this and have in the past, but it's probably about 70% of our time is being dedicated to the schools on any given day. There was a rough model that we attempted to fit into back in 2015 and 16 when I came on board and we built our team. Back in the day, the digital learning was a 3-inch thick 3-ring binder. Ellen probably remembers this. And they handed it to me, and I went on vacation, 2 weeks into and I spent half of my vacation just reading through it, trying to get my head around it. At that particular time, they were suggesting that the CIO would spend 70% of his time supporting the schools, and this DCIO would spend 90% of the time. And then there were additional positions like the technical support specialist and the systems administrator that also had percentages that would be spent. That worked, and that they probably had that and then some back in the day. As our infrastructure matured, though, as we became more resilient and we had better services and they were more reliable, we were able to step back a little bit and start looking at building out services or improving on services without having to put a lot of fires out and fix a lot of things with duct tape and bubble gum, because our infrastructure was now rock solid. So after about 2 years or 3 years into this, we found that we had more time to do things that we needed to do that wasn't quite as intense as what we initially started out when it came to supporting the schools. I mean, when I got here, I was involved in infrastructure. I was involved in their website. I was involved in every aspect of the schools, and so was the DCIO. As positions have matured, as our infrastructure has gotten more solid, we've been able to do nice projects like the integration with the GIS and our Laserfiche document management system this year that we could have never done without putting up a solid infrastructure that the entire town uses.
Thank you. And my last question is in the last few years, has the town received significant cyber attacks? Has our infrastructure been able to withstand them?
We've been very fortunate. There's only really one that comes to mind, which was a ransomware solution that ended up on a CPS laptop. We didn't have anything critical on that particular laptop. It didn't traverse the network. There was no other data, no other network part of the network that was affected by it. That was quite a few years ago. And since then, we have hardened our systems. We have improved on those capabilities to thwart cybersecurity events significantly. Maya, our cybersecurity insurance provider, mandated a few years ago that we have a baseline of cybersecurity solutions in place. That actually coincided with an explosion, so to speak, of cost or funding being needed in the IT budget to meet those needs. Without meeting that baseline, we would have had our cybersecurity insurance dropped. So we implemented multi-factor authentication. There were at least 3 or 4 major solutions that we tiered as our security fabric as part of that really helped us get to the point where we are today. We see attacks or attempts of attacks every single day. And that could be in the form of email, that can be in the form of someone trying to penetrate a port on a firewall. We have to respond. We have to look at those and vet those to see whether or not there's anything else that we need to do. When you prioritize that, and we have to, the help desk tickets may take a back seat at times. So we're doing what we can do to make sure that our level of service for our end users still remains high, despite the time we're spending in security.
Great, thank you.
I think I got one today that I sent you.
You're right. That was a great catch.
Yeah, cohassetma.org. I mean, the email looked legitimate.
Yeah, you're
Mr.
right.
Grady, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Thanks so much for the presentation.
I have just one quick one, and thank you very much for all your efforts. Would you just explain, because you discussed the amount of time based off Mr. Farag's question that is spent on school related IT issues. For people who don't understand, what is the line of demarcation with budget 315 CPS and your budget?
So budget 315 is a tech budget. Essentially, it houses the salary for our technical support specialist too. And it supports the salary of the central office's student information system administrator or manager, data manager. So those 2 positions are funded within that budget. The budget is about $372,000. Again, it's a work in progress, but I believe that's where it sits right now. There are tabs or there are workbooks that we use that help us baseline that budget, just like the other budgets. And it gives us a clear picture of exactly where we're funding, that solution. A lot of that budget is for curriculum testing. So the central office needs to know how the students are doing, and there's some testing software in there that facilitates that. There are hardware components to that. There is a break fix budget that has ranged anywhere from $30,000 to $60,000, which will handle building security, including visitor badging systems, surveillance cameras. There is going to be service level agreements to some degree in there. Sometimes that budget will be instrumental in making sure that our town-wide systems operate correctly or are supported correctly. Wi-Fi would be one of those. So we are not going to ask the school budget to pick up the service level agreements for the 20 wireless access points we have in municipal buildings. So we break that out. So there's integration there, but for the majority of the tech budget in the schools, it's for core technology related to classroom tech, some hardware, and some software that's utilized for curriculum.
Great. Excellent. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation and for another good year. When we don't hear of problems, that means you're having a good year, right?
I agree, 100%.
Okay. Thanks, Ron. Okay. Next up is I see Mr. Joyce here. Where's my agenda? Department of Public Works budget presentation. So please come up.
Good evening.
Evening.
Just following up on Ron's, as an end user of the GIS system, Ron and his staff migrated seamlessly from one system to the Esri system. I use it daily. It's great.
What do you use it for?
So all of our water, sewer, street lights, road maps, all of any infrastructure is mapped on the GIS system. If I have a question from a resident says, I have there's flooding in front of my house, we look at it to see is there a water main there, or where the service shutoff might be, and then you can dial in even further and get as-built. So if crews are going out in the field, you can give them a shot of like what the as-built looks like, to see the infrastructure. So it's been really good.
Good.
And on the cybersecurity, hardening our water and sewer systems, they've done a lot of work on that too. So anyway, he's not there, but thanks, Ron. All right. So
To prevent infiltration of something bad.
yes, yeah. Without getting into specifics, they've worked a lot on cybersecurity from bad actors getting into our water system and doing that, and we're pretty hardened.
Okay.
So I'm here to discuss the DPW operations budget, which includes DPW facilities, highway tree park, the snow and ice budget, street lights, and the RTF. Next slide, please. So it's budget numbers 422 through 426. 422 is the main DPW highway tree and park. 423 is our snow and ice budget. 424 is our streetlight budget. 425 is the RTF, and 426 is the facilities. And just if you're looking through the actual budget lines, the suffix of all those budget lines under the facilities, 426 has a building code, and that's what those numbers reflect.
So the longest single department budget in the budget.
It's got a million lines in it, and it's built out so that they can cover anything that may happen in a building. And with that, we've made some reductions in this, in this budget pass to meet overall budget. So we're proposing a next slide, please. It's a level funded budget. This one slide really kind of has it all. The top table shows 422 through 426. Last year's budget, DPW is 1.656. The proposed budget is 1.730. It's a 4% budget roughly increase. Snow and ice is remaining unchanged at 127,000, and by law that's one that we can maintain, and if we overspend, we have a couple of years to catch up with that. Unfortunately, we've had a pretty tough winter thus far. We're still cleaning up from the last storm, so those actuals on what this winter will be probably won't be for another month and a half or two. Streetlight budget is for we purchased the 513 streetlights in town about 10 years back, which gives us a better rate for electricity. And with that, we need to maintain them. So that covers our maintenance budget and the electricity for all of our streetlights. We also upgraded to LEDs a few 5 or 6 years back, which gives us a better rate. The RTF. The RTF is, last year, it's kind of it's hard to compare last year to this year because we have a new operation going on up there, as you all know. So this year is, the budget, it's a 6% increase showed over from last year, but we have increased the fees, and we have the pilot program. So we're forecasting that we'll be able to, meet our budget. And the facilities finally on this one this is where we have a decrease of 7%. So we've looked at all those dozens and dozens of lines and facilities. It's built out basically for any contingency that may happen in any building, including like plumbing leaks and things like that. So where historically, where we have new buildings or newer systems, Nick took a really hard look at it and said, these systems are a little bit more reliable than some of these older systems, and reduce some of those budget lines. One of them we won't be able to service is landscaping around schools and buildings like this. It's, mulch beds and flower beds and things like that. So that's a 7% reduction in budget overall. in facilities. So in total, all of those budgets are basically flat. We have 3.897 million last year, and it's 3.932 this year. It's a total increase of less than 1%, 0.9%. And to date, we're about 67% through the fiscal year, and we're about 70% expended on all those budgets. So we're kind of on track where we need to be thus far this year.
It's really driven by the snow and ice, though.
The snow and ice, and that's with the snow and ice, yeah. And
Well, yeah.
this is a March 1st, so we still haven't captured all the costs from this most recent storm. We have a lot of tree cleanup in front of us for a few weeks, debris, and we have a lot of repairs to do. So that snow and ice will increase, and we'll have to work into next year to get that paid off.
It's looking like ice tonight.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
Meeting earlier, it started snowing outside, and I was like, "Look, it's snowing. Isn't that nice?"
no.
Lovely.
You want questions now, or do you want to go through?
No. So, I mean, the rest of the slide, that's kind of the main, I went through prior year accomplishments and goals for upcoming year.
Highlight some of them.
Okay, sure. So the DPW prior accomplishments, a lot of this is in the year review with the town report. We cleaned 323 catch basins and rebuilt 11 catch basins. A lot of that had to do with our, paving the new roads. And that's a requirement of our NIPDES permit, which is to prevent pollution in our waterways. We paved 5,725 feet of roadway and 3,075 feet of new and existing sidewalks. We have the new sidewalk on Pond Street. And that does not include new sidewalks we worked with, which were funded with DOT on 3A. We replaced 37 traffic signs and various devices and fencing, berms, aprons, and sidewalks around town. Issued 56 street opening permits. I won't go through all the tonnage, but we have quite a bit of tonnage moving through the RTF still. It's a little bit of an increase from last year. We planted 23 new trees around town with the funding from a state grant that our tree foreman and Charlotte Pector, our conservation agent, worked on. And there's multiple hazardous trees removed, 55 large trees plus limbs around town, and indicative of this storm versus the one we had, I think, about 10 years ago. We did lose power in this storm, but recovery was better, and a lot of this tree maintenance and tree removal of hazardous trees are a big part of keeping the power on. There is one thing with our trees I'll mention. With ash, there's an ash borer beetle that is invasive species, and it's killing a lot of ash trees. So there'll be a lot more ash trees, unfortunately, that are going to succumb to that in the next few years. We'll have to deal with.
I have a quick question on the trees. Of the 55, are those on public and private property?
Those are all public.
All in public.
Yeah, we do not do any private property tree removals. It's all within the public right of way.
Okay. So even if a tree on private property is impeding the power lines or the power grid?
So yeah, it's a good point. So these trees that we've removed are all not involved with power lines. Beyond these trees, National Grid comes in annually and does tree trimming. So we cannot get within a 10-foot radius of any of the power lines. So if there are trees or branches within 10 feet of any power line, we can't get in there. And National Grid is pretty responsive. We have a good relationship. They come in and take care of it. And a lot of the trees that were removed in this recent storm were National Grid crews. We had the Army National Guard came in and they helped us out for a day and a half clearing out, as well as our crews. So continuing we had 31 internments at town cemeteries and 1 disinterment, which is family wanted to move to a new plot. 9 hazardous waste paint collection days, 8 brush days for residential brush tripping. And last year, which was a milder winter, we only went out 22 times, plowed and sanded. And then there's various engineering support for the water department and sewer department on water main work on 3A construction and sewer water wastewater plant design operations, including the new cleaning and lining of all the sewer mains down by the harbor and under Jacobs Meadow. Next slide, please.
Brian,
Yes,
reconnaissance. Put town hall on that. Take some kudos there.
that's in the next slide.
Sorry.
Jumping ahead. So yeah, under facilities tackle, they installed a new fire alarm system at the Cohasset Middle High School, as well as replacing 2 rooftop air handler units, which handle the Deer Hill School basketball gym and stage area. And the school was accepted in the MSB BA program, as you know, and for the Osgood roof replacements. So they worked on getting that designed and put out to bid. I think bids were received just yesterday. I don't know the results yet, but
Good,
They're great.
good, great.
because it was a big, big number before.
It's not so big anymore.
Good. And that starts this summer?
That's I think that's the intent. Yeah. And just a side note on this recent storm. So as you know, and you did the declaration of emergency. Thank you for doing that. We had to shovel the Osgood roof, which is one of the biggest span. If you look inside of the Osgood cafeteria, you see all those trusses in there, and it's very sensitive loading, and so Nick and his staff were up there monitoring it. We got to the point where we had to shovel it. We got crews in there shoveling out for 2 days while the last day school was closed, and then they were still shoveling out while it was in service. But other communities, Hingham had to shut a school down while kids were in school because of a similar situation. So kudos on the facilities team staying on top of that. Another project was repairing structural masonry entrance at the Paul Pratt Library. That's the one that faces Ripley Road. And to Paul's point, we commenced town hall rehabilitation work finally with sprinkler installation and fire. So sprinklers are installed 100%. Next is the fire alarms, and next phases will include windows. Hopefully go out to bid in the next month, followed by HVAC, electrical, and some interior work. And we're chasing some significant grant money with DOER on decarbonization of that building. We had a meeting today with them.
Good.
What's that?
Does it look good?
Yeah, it does look good. They seem very favorable, and they're coaching us on what they want to see. So we're fingers crossed on that. We're hopeful. And then their continued support with all the departments in town completing almost 3,000 work orders that various departments put in for broken heater or things in classrooms and things of that nature. Goals for upcoming years. This is DPW and engineering. Continued support for the design of the wastewater treatment plant upgrades with application grant funding we're chasing for the sewer plant and I&I investigation. This is sewer related, but engineering is also part of what DPW provides. Completion of the water main on Route 3A and South Main Street. The support of the water department there. Continued compliance with NIPD's stormwater upgrades and monitoring. That's the catch basin cleaning. That's keeping up with our rain gardens and our storm scepters. The water sludge lagoon design and bid, hopefully for the water department's going out. So engineering support on that. And working with Paul in the sidewalk and safety committee, where we've got our list of streets we're planning this year to pave Forest Ave in its entirety. including a portion of North Main Street by the MBTA tracks that's in pretty rough shape, and design of new sidewalk portions on Beechwood Street, the old Beechwood that kind of parallels Norman Todd, King Street, where it's a little bit hazardous in front of a portion of sidewalk in front of the water treatment plant, Pleasant Street from the railroad tracks to Cushing Road, where it's very tight, and Jerusalem Road on the north side, where there's a portion missing from West Corner to where the sidewalk starts up around the 600 number region. All those are in design, or going to be designed shortly, and it'll involve permitting and such. Let's see. And again, we'll just continue to optimize performance in the RTF, tree park, cemetery, and highway divisions. We've got a lot of new staff and a lot of new faces, and they were put to the test in these past few storms. I'm very proud of them. They did a great job, kind of triaging and fixing broken equipment quickly.
Did you get the sidewalk?
The sidewalk machine, yeah. So it broke a couple of times with just a pin they switched out, and then and Michelle saw it. An auger broke the last day. We had to get it overnighted from Canada, and they were able to put that back up and running. So
Just so my colleagues know, I got a message. We happened to be, what call were we on? Town Hall? It was a Town Hall Zoom, and I got a message from Situate, and they said if you need any equipment to help with the snow removal, just let us know. We might be able to help you out.
that was a nice offer. And then we fixed it the next morning, and then it broke the next day.
Yeah.
Murphy's Law. And just on the facilities, we talked about it before. The Osgood roof replacement's a goal for next coming year. Continue masonry repairs around the Paul Pratt Library, and that new pavilion you see constructing on the side, the Sawyer Street side, will be done. They've requested capital budget for a new door that will access that from the side. Town hall renovations, again, the windows, HVAC, electrical, and interior are our goal for next year. And then continued optimization of the work order system to keep the PM going and keep the capital, capital lifespan, or elongate the capital lifespan of all of our equipment and buildings. So that's the end of my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Greg?
Dick, I know it was a big year of snow a couple of years ago. We just had mud.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, and I know a lot of towns and cities were in the same boat, because we were running out of salt and sand. And so how do we get that? And in the future, should we try and get more, or even though it's an anomaly year, or what should we do regarding that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I'm glad you brought it up, because shout out to the Capital Budget Committee. After 2015, so we had a 500-ton shed, if you remember. It was an old green small shed. They funded the construction of our existing shed, which is a 2,000-ton shed. Had we not had that and the storage that we had at the beginning, the onset of all these storms, we'd be kind of screwed, to be honest with you. So there is a salt shortage around the region. It has to do with shipping deliveries. We've called all the bidders on the state bid list, and we haven't gotten any new orders, but we do have existing orders, about 30 of them out there. So we'll be full or in better shape after Friday. Right now, we have enough for I'll say 2 to 3 passes around the town. So it is tight. We're not the only ones. If we do come down to where we're running out completely, we've already talked to Mass DOT, and they will allow us to fill up, a couple of trucks at their barn up at the top of Crocker Lane. But it's, I think without the new storage that we've had, we wouldn't be able to get through this. And to your point, we plan on filling it up completely once the orders start coming in. And the other option is if we did salt is really the commodity that's up, but we do a salt sand mix. And if salt became even more rationed, we'd have to go more to a sand mix, which is not great for, catch basin cleaning and such. But sometimes, if you've been up New Hampshire, they use a pretty heavy sand mix. We may go, well, we would have to go to that. We don't see it with the forecast over the next 10 day, but so I think we're pretty good right now.
That's just pretty horrible. That's sand up in New Hampshire, though. I will say that.
It gets everywhere. Yeah. It's,
My only other question, thank you, and I didn't want to keep it storm related, but I'll keep it in general, is how is the equipment holding up? Is the type of equipment we have powerful enough to deal with storms and non-storms? I know BPW and facilities fix things, as they go, equipment breaks down, it gets fixed in the shop, but how is the equipment? Do we need to look at enhancing anything to make sure that for the future?
Yeah, I mean, after 2015, again, this is another kudos to capital budget. After lengthy discussions, they funded we purchased a sidewalk blower, which is our frontline blower. You've seen it clearing sidewalks around town and giving a nice smooth path and leaving a skinny piece at some point. So before that, it was really just a kind of a push plow and ineffective in this kind of depth of snow. That equipment, when it breaks down, it's kind of our only game for that. It'd be nice to have another one, but they're expensive. I think staying on top of the maintenance on that one is good. Capital budget's pretty good at when trucks are aging out, entertaining and giving funding to replace trucks. This year, we don't have any trucks. We have, I had this off to the side of the second slide. I missed it. So our capital request this year is to replace our 2 variable message signboards that are over 25 years old, replacing an axle and a hub on one of our old trucks, which is the catch basin cleaner. Again, that's a NIPTES stormwater vehicle. We're replacing a 97 tractor for the tree and park, and we've proposed a Pelican street sweeper, which is our cleanup. We try to get everything swept from April till May and get everything line striped around town ready for Memorial Day. That's the goal every year. So the sweeper is a really important part of that, and we've had to contract that out for recent years.
Thank you.
Mr. Grady?
No, but Brian, thanks so much for all you guys do.
Okay, can't leave yet.
Oh.
Sorry, I always have questions. So, I haven't had a moment to dig into 426 facilities, which, as you know, Brian, that's my favorite department. And you mentioned something in the overview about mulching and landscaping at this facility and at the schools.
Yes.
That it's come out of the facility department budget. Is it being absorbed anywhere else?
No, it's not being absorbed anywhere in any of the budgets, DPW facilities. So that would be mulching around beds in this facility. Also mulch adding, which happens every 2 to 3 years at the playgrounds.
Yeah.
So that would be the library, Beechwood, Deer Hill and Osgood.
That's going to be absorbed in the recreation budget, Ellen.
I'm sorry? Yeah, okay, so we can address that. So the playgrounds in here?
Are going to be absorbed in the recreation. budget.
Okay, this building?
This building, I wasn't aware that we took care of the mulching.
It's infrequent, but there are nice flower beds around here, and the garden club does some work.
Okay,
on it.
and so then the schools?
And then the schools, yeah. Deer Hill and Osgood. Playgrounds, yeah.
So
No,
that's being absorbed.
Recreation.
But school campus landscaping, not the mowing, but the weeding and like the areas around Alumni Field, and in front of the central office and some of the other things that.
So that was the landscape I'm referring to is town building. I mean, those are town buildings, but those were custodial, I believe.
Oh, you're right. It shifted over to the custodian.
Yeah, we didn't
Okay.
do, like, when you walk into the main entrance of the high school,
Yep.
the bushes and
Okay.
things like that.
Sorry, I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
Yep. It did shift. I remember.
Yeah, the line of demarcation is kind of outside of the sidewalk that connects around the school
Okay.
generally.
All right. So I'm not gonna question that the 7% reduction, because obviously you and Nick go through it very realistically. I don't want this, though, to be a signal. What?
I can speak to the 7% reduction.
Okay. But I just don't want it to be a signal to the town that we're taking the focus off our facilities, that, because this is where the budget reduction shows, doesn't mean that, because we've been working every year to present a budget that supports taking care of our facilities.
That is correct. And the 7% reduction you see was reduced from the contingency line items. And we felt as though with the reserve fund being untapped year over year, it was an opportunity, if there was an emergency or an event, instead of have built-in contingency in the budgets, to go to the reserve fund if you needed something.
Okay, because history shows that the contingency line items weren't tapped.
Correct.
Okay, okay. I can live with that for tonight, okay? No, it's just important. I mean, we have a lot of infrastructure projects going on, and the problem that a lot of people have is, yeah, we give you the money to renovate the schools in the early 2000s and you don't take care of them. So, I hear it a lot from I don't want to say my generation, but I do. And it's like, when you start taking care of your buildings and your facilities, we'll start looking, for new ones.
Put in the budget to support the 135 King Street building. I know that was a concern of yours early on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I know the rental income was also put into a reserve fund. Well, it was supposed to have been. Okay. All right. So Brian, if you had another $100,000, I'm not saying, what would you do with it in the budget?
On the operating budget?
Yeah.
Probably trees and street lines. More monies. Yeah. So we were increasing those, we were looking for a bigger increase in those. Trees are really become, especially with the diseased ashes, and which are a large diameter, large tree. It's been a big focus. You get in and you move one large tree, you're talking $7-8 grand. So that 50,000-60,000 gets eaten up pretty quickly.
And there's no grant money for that. There's no, National Arboretum Society.
Not for removals. So, I mean, our big ticket items are the hazardous removals. There is money for that we chase them, like the 23 trees for new plantings. But for the removal of the hazardous ones, really, National Grid does help us quite a bit in that if there's anything near a power line, it's diseased and it's going on its way out, that they'll come in and take care of it at their dime, because it's a hazard to the power lines. But beyond that, we don't really have much support.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Excellent presentation.
Great. Thank you, Brian.
Okay. And we are behind schedule. Okay. All right. So next up, so you did both facilities and DPW. Next up is a vote to approve the vacancies on the warrant to be put on the ballot. It's in our packet. I know we've also received it on email a few times. Does anyone have any questions about this? No? Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the vacancies to appear on the ballot May 16th? Is that our election date? May 9th?
So moved.
Or hang on,
What?
we got to get the right date.
Oh.
I think it's the 9th. Because it was 16th and The clerk posted it as the 9th,
It's May 9th.
May 9th. Okay.
Is May 9th.
Okay, so I'm going to reword my motion, my request for a motion to approve the vacancies to appear on the ballot on May 9th, 2026.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and Erin, we signed the bottom of that, even though there was no signatures, but she wanted something official.
Town clerk asked for that.
Yep, okay. Yep. Okay, next up is a warrant review. Would that be you, Michelle? Okay.
So the warrant, I think the first time we saw the draft warrant, there was about 21 articles. It has since grown to 28 articles.
Oh, gosh.
A lot of it is housekeeping. This is still draft form and no way ready to be voted.
Yeah.
But we'll just do a quick run through. And if you have any questions on any articles, would you rather me run through them and you stop me if you have questions, or would you rather just?
Well, I'd rather ask questions by article.
Okay.
Instead of going back. Okay, that's what we'll do.
Your last question by article.
Well, yeah, so like, only because on the first article, I just have a comment I would like to make.
Please do.
Okay, so the Article 1, as always, is recognize citizens and employees for particular service to the town. In my experience here in the town of Cohasset, that recognition comes from other residents who want to recognize somebody. It is not an act that the select board or the town hall take the initiative on. Is that correct?
I think it is morphed into the select board in town to recognize people for outstanding service that work for the town.
Okay, so we can, but I guess for the general public out there listening, that if someone has wants to recognize someone for outstanding service, that has ended, not somebody who's mid-cycle in their service to the town, they can contact the town manager's office for that process. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Article 2 would be to accept the town report. Article 3, reports by boards and committees. Sometimes we have a few of those. Article 4, the operating budget. Tonight we'll have a draft preview of the operating budget. Article 5 is unpaid bills from prior year. We currently have 4. I don't anticipate any additional coming in. Article 6 is a supplemental appropriation for 26, and this is the cable TV transfer. Article 7 is stabilization and other special funds. This is transfer funds to the OPEB trust fund and transfer to capital stabilization funds. This is a transfer that happens every year. Article 8 is the capital improvements budget. Here we have at the enterprise fund, the sewer betterment stabilization fund. It's for debt service for the Little Harbor project at $150,000. Again, the sewer capital stabilization fund to fund the new membranes at $465,000, and the additional retained earning transfer for the purpose of paying $60,000 towards the membranes as well.
Okay.
As far as capital projects, none of these have been voted. However, I'll run down the list quickly. So police are looking for the 3rd year of their TASER lease, police car replacement program, their mobile radios, fire department's looking to replace their engine number 3. Public Works, as Brian already indicated, is looking at the variable message boards, replacing the front axle, rims, and tires on number 3. Replace the street sweeper, and they're looking to replace the John Deere utility tractor. Facilities is looking to replace the Paul Pratt Library exterior doors. That also has an ADA compliance with it. Schools are looking to replace the Deer Hill furniture. They're also looking to replace their projectors. This is the last year of the projector program. They are looking at district-wide security enhancements. They're looking for 10 diesel buses and 1 additional multi-use vehicle. The library is looking for a book drop, and recreation is looking to repaint the Sawyer Street basketball courts and to repave and repaint the Sawyer Street parking lot. Those are all the requests before capital budget. Capital budget has heard all the requests. Monday, they have a meeting and they will start voting these requests.
Okay, recreation, line painting and paving? Okay. Okay, I won't ask any questions.
Article 9 is the allocation of funds of one-time costs. Here we have the cemetery maintenance, the waterway fund, and FY 23, 24, 25 excise tax, the amount to be.
From free cash to the waterways fund?
Mhm.
The excise tax on marine equipment? Okay,
It's very small.
okay.
Yeah, it's very small.
Oh, so 24, 25, 1 year, was some of those excise taxes paid to the town of Cohasset or the town of Situate?
Town of Cohasset.
Okay, even when Situate was issuing mooring permits?
I believe that's been rectified, but I can find out more.
Okay. Okay,
Article 10 is the department revolving funds and the annual spending limits. The only hold we have here again is specialized inspections for electrical, plumbing and gas fittings. I believe, the building commissioner is looking to have that amount raised from 50,000 to perhaps 100,000. But we have nothing formal, to indicate the amount to change it to. Article 11 is the MGL 91 liability, and that really is just an annual article for state funds to perform work in Cohasset Harbor. Article 12 is the additional real estate exemptions. Again, this is an annual article. We have Article 13, which is MGL Chapter 59, Section 5. And this here is to allow the Board of Assessors to increase qualifying gross receipts for seniors to defer their property tax.
is this new?
I'm sorry?
Is this new? Article 13 for this year?
This is new for this year, yes.
Okay,
The last time it was on, I believe it was on in 2023.
okay.
Article 14 is the rescission of authorized but unissued debt. We went through this on capital last night, so the water department had an authorization of, I believe it was $3.6 million for GAC filtration. They're not gonna use 3.3 million of it, therefore we're gonna rescind the article. Article 15, let's see. This is. Sorry, this is new.
A reserve. Creating a reserve fund without further recreation. Also special education recovery, high school programs, out of district tuition and transportation. There is a reserve fund. There is a stabilization. Who submitted this?
So I think this was submitted because originally they couldn't find the vote. This happened because there was a reserve fund, it was transferred to a stabilization fund. They want it to be a reserve fund. They don't want it to act as a stabilization fund.
Who's that?
I believe the school district.
So the primary differential. And I have all that if people
So the
need it.
stabilization fund, they'd have to come to town meeting to spend the money. The reserve fund they could spend.
No, I think it's the opposite. We'll have to look at MMA to look at the difference, because it was originally created as a reserve fund, which required a vote at town meeting to withdraw the funds. And MMA changed and it became a stabilization fund, which required a vote from the select board and the school committee to withdraw the funds outside of town meeting. And that was the reason why we changed. I was on the school committee. That was the reason why we changed it.
I just say have that flipped perhaps. So let me get more information too.
Yeah.
too wide.
Yeah, and the language also, is recovery high school programs. If that falls under special education, that's fine, but that's something new. I don't know what that is. And if you look at our policy is very specific on the line items, within the special education budget for which the reserve fund, the stabilization fund can be used.
So we'll look at
2% of the annual net school spending of the school district. Yeah, I don't know who wrote this. This has nothing to do. I mean, there's policy on this.
So we'll find out more information on that. The Cohasset water rate structure is Article 16. You'll see a table here with the new 5-year rate matrix. This is something I believe Mr. Clark came in and spoke about when he gave the presentation on the water department, the rate analysis. Article 17, we have a placeholder for the design of the Elm Street fire station. There's a lot of talk with the Public Safety Committee on what to do with 62 Elm Street. So we believe a placeholder or at least design funds is appropriate at this point.
I've seen like 3 designs. Well, do we need to have another design? I mean, we don't have to get into it, but it's a rhetorical question, but it's not.
So I believe there was one design was done to find out if there was enough space for the fire department at Elm Street and additional town offices while they were space planning at 135 King Street.
They came up that there was.
It did come up that there was. We have since found space at town hall for those other departments. I think this is another design to incorporate some of the firefighters' concerns, ideas. And this article would come from the Public Safety Committee.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay.
if it's their desire to put it in,
Yep. Well,
yeah, you have the final vote. But the language will come from.
okay. But it's for the money for a design.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I just want to make sure that I mean, it says Elm Street design, but a lot of people don't read, so we got to make sure people don't say, oh, it's $500,000 and we're going to renovate Elm Street.
Strictly design.
Strictly design. Okay.
Article 19, the wastewater treatment plant. An authorization to bond for their HVAC odor control system for $1 million. Article 20 is the creation of a revolving fund for the cemetery fees. This is just we'd like another revolving fund created so the fees that come in are captured within the revolving fund and can spend for cemetery uses. Article 21, housekeeping, that's Community Preservation Committee. It's required each year at town meeting. And it's to indicate how the funds are raised. So we don't have placeholders here. To the best of my knowledge, I believe there's only one project before.
Yeah, our meeting was wiped out by the storm. So it's been pushed till next week, next Monday.
Okay.
So that'll be, I believe it'll probably be presented then.
Okay, and it's one.
Yeah, I believe so, but yeah. So.
An amendment to the South Shore VOTEC agreement. Again, that's just the addition of another district coming in.
Pembroke, yeah, town of Pembroke, yeah.
Oh, Pembroke's coming in?
Yeah.
Wow.
I hear Marshfield wants out. They can't afford it. That's what I heard.
Maybe they should talk with their superintendent.
Article 23 is an amendment to the bylaw, and this is parking bylaw. This was initiated by the town clerk. Has to do with, parking, Sandy Beach. It's just a change to the bylaw. It's cleaning it up, cleaning the language up. Article 24 is the Cohasset Public Safety Building placeholder. This would be 135 King Street. The last meeting we had, I believe the discussion was they would have estimates on the 13th, and they asked for a special select board meeting on March 19th, if it could be accommodated, to review the cost.
Last year, same day. Okay.
The next Article 25 is another amendment to the bylaw. This came about from our conservation agent. I was concerned that she can no longer have a quorum due to not enough agents. As of right now, it's a 7-member board. She's asking it to be reduced to 5 members just due to lack of participation and lack of quorum.
We've done it before for other committees, so. Let's set the press.
You're on.
Go ahead.
Okay, sure.
We only have 4.
Okay, so 5 makes sense. Okay, Article 26, we talked about this before, the resolution for the town, Cohasset Municipal Services to reach 50% net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2030 and 100% by 2050. I don't have any additional information on that, but more to come.
I had my question from before. The moderator usually doesn't let resolutions come on the agenda with articles for this. And so is he any thoughts about this particular one?
I don't believe it's been sent to him yet.
Okay.
We're waiting for legal counsel to come back to us with additional verbiage, and then we'll send it up.
And I don't mean to pick out this one in particular, but any resolution, because I mean, some towns do it, but the problem is when you have resolutions, then you have, it just spirals out of control where, you know, where it goes beyond policy things and it gets into other things. So, yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
I'll make sure. Anyways. And then we get into the citizens petitions, which we have 2 of. Article 27, the first citizens petition is a noise control bylaw. And it's to amend the noise control bylaw to prohibit the use of gasoline powered weed debris blowers and line trimmers and weed whackers in Cohasset. Article 28 is the second citizens petition, and it's for Wheelwright Park. Essentially, this has to do with the cell tower and their desire to almost rescind the efforts of putting up the cell tower in Wheelwright Park.
On that one, I had a question, because didn't town meeting already vote to
They did.
approve the cell tower in
They-
Wheelwright Park?
Mhm.
And was there legislation needed for that as well? So it was approved by the Massachusetts House, the Massachusetts Senate, and the governor of Massachusetts. And don't we have a contract with the cell tower company that was RFP'd?
Yes.
And that as a part of that contract, the town would receive $35,000 plus 50% of anything else that goes on the tower. So that would actually make money. And isn't our public safety equipment supposed to go on that tower as well?
Yes.
With police, fire,
I feel like I'm on the stand, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
and that it would improve everyone's lack of cell service in that whole area?
Absolutely.
Safety, save
Yes.
lives.
Public safety.
It's a public safety.
The driver was public safety.
Correct.
Because the amount of times that the radios or the cell phones cut out from Sandy Beach, north along Atlantic to Jerusalem, and, you know, straight to Jerusalem to West Corner or up Forest Avenue was horrible. And extensive studies were done on this in terms of finding the right plane and plateau for optimal coverage with the police participated, service providers participated, drove around town. They looked at, you probably remember, David, the old site that's in Wheelwright Park on the North Main Street side. Yeah, so there was a cell phone tower there.
There was actually radar testing equipment, Norfolk Conveyor, which was up where Avalon was.
Yeah.
Today, they would test radars, and the other station was in Wheelwright Park, and that's where they would shoot the radar signal down to there and test it. So
Yeah.
we've had equipment in there before traditionally.
So
So,
why do we have to entertain this?
This location was
Past.
chosen because it was
Yeah.
the least impact to the park.
And provided the most coverage.
Most coverage, least impact, and actually the most improvements from where we're gonna go in. It will actually improve access to the trails. It'll improve parking. So there are several improvements that come along with this.
And the state has approved the land swap.
So
Yeah,
my question is, why do we have to entertain this?
it's a
It's a
citizen's
citizen's
petition.
petition.
And I believe last summer, or last fall, you invited the petition, well, some of the petitioners
Some of them we did.
for a walkthrough and they did not show.
A couple of them did.
Oh, a couple of them did?
Yeah.
I know you went.
Couple of them,
Okay.
couple of the members showed, from Open Space and Recreation, and then they asked for a weather balloon float to see the impact.
Hmm.
Line of sight view.
Yeah.
We floated the balloon. You couldn't see it for miles. The only place you could see it was in a bucket truck on top of the landfill. So nowhere on land could you see it.
These people are.
Okay. Okay.
More to come. If you have any additional questions about these warrant articles, you can send them available to make sure you get them.
that's good.
But it's a work in progress.
Okay. Next.
Right. So the FY 27 budget.
Can we just preamble, do you mind if before you get into it, if I just say a few things about this? So this budget, as all budgets, begin in the previous fall. And both the town, the select board, and the school committee draft their budget message, their budget priorities, which go through, depending upon the board or the committee, a few iterations, and it lays the groundwork for the budget. And much like people who have been watching the school committee iterations of budgets, they are work in progress, and they're not final until they're final. And so each iteration of the school budget has been a work in progress. And even as we learned tonight, there will be further changes that will be presented tomorrow night. And so this is our first pass, but this doesn't mean it's all of a sudden and it's a shock on the budget. It's been worked on consistently, day over day. I'm trying to think of when in January I spent a day with you, and
That was in December.
that was in December. So I want everyone to understand that it's not an all of a sudden kind of process. It doesn't just happen. Okay, it's been ongoing, and through the work of all of the people in the schools, all of the school leadership, by building, by central office, by the town manager's office, and all of the department heads. We're just happening to hear this for the first time tonight, but it doesn't mean it's the first pass.
This is not the first pass. I think this is probably the 8th or 9th iteration since we started the process.
Mhm.
As you stated, it's been a work in progress for a long time. I would say the schools and the town have worked tirelessly on this
Mhm.
week after week. We do have a standing meeting weekly where we review the budget, we review any changes, any additions that need to be made. Brian Joyce today just came up with something, so that'll be changed in the budget tomorrow. So until it's final, it's not final.
Mhm.
There will be iteration number 10, 12, 13, maybe. And as we hear of things coming off and things coming on, we make the adjustments as needed.
Mhm. And that being said, all of the correspondence and everything we've seen that has been addressed to the select board about, putting an override on the warrant, it's all pretty premature. And first of all, because it has been a work in progress, number one, and number two is we haven't been asked to put it on an override by the school department. The school department would be the ones come to us and say, we want an override.
And I don't think that they would be prepared to do that until we had a fund budget that would be indicative of the need.
Right. Right.
But we know where that comes from, don't we? So, sowing confusion, and it is a work in progress.
The challenge for the schools, though, I will say, having been sat at that table, is if you have a difficult budget season, which is going to require, some personnel changes, you like to have those conversations with people who may be affected as early as possible. So it's not a surprise come town meeting floor, in May. And it's a common practice amongst all school districts. All right, I won't opine any longer.
So, as I stated, this is a draft. I just want to start out with a few of the basics as we go into the presentation, because I think oftentimes some of the wording is confused. And I just want to give a high level overview of how the funds act, and what they're used for. So the first slide would be, just a funds overview. We have our general fund, we have the enterprise funds, and we have revolving funds. The general fund provides the funding for the core services in town. And when we talk about core services, I just want to remind everybody that the town of Cohasset has several departments, and it's not the schools versus the town. The schools are a department within the town of Cohasset and are treated as such. So I just want to make sure that everyone understands that the town side doesn't get special treatment and then the schools don't. They're one department within the town, and we have to look at balancing everything accordingly. The enterprise fund. So currently we have 2 enterprise funds in town. We have the water treatment plant and the wastewater treatment plant. As far as revolving funds, the town of Cohasset has 14 revolving funds, and that excludes recreation. Those revolving funds have worked well for us. You see them in the town warrant. And we hope to keep strong balances in those revolving funds to help us fund additional items in the future. Next slide, please. So free cash. When we talk about free cash, we talk about money that has not been spent that was allocated throughout the year. This money falls to the bottom line and at the end is certified by the DOR. The DOR indicates that the best practices for free cash is to keep a balance of about 3 to 5% at the end of the year. As you can see, year over year, we've had healthy free cash numbers. However, the decline happened after 23. So 24 and 25, you see a steady decline in those free cash numbers. While building the budget this year, we're building it in a way that we hope to have free cash fall to the bottom line at the end of the year to be able to increase those totals again, closer to the 1.8 or $2 million. Oh, this slide's really small, I'm sorry. Revenues by source. So this is where our revenues come from. We have our property tax, and then we talk about Prop 2.5. And I know there's been a lot of talk about this in many communities. And this Prop 2.5 really often handcuffs the community because we know the rate of inflation is greater than 2.5% per year. But this really does handcuff us because we are not allowed to increase our levy more than the 2.5% per year. We talk about overrides and debt exclusion, and oftentimes these are miscommunicated. So an override would be a permanent increase to the tax levy. A debt exclusion is just for a period of time. So if you have a project and you vote on debt exclusion, it's for that period, you'll pay taxes on that for the period of time in which that the duration of the project. We have new growth numbers, and that attributes to development in the community. We've seen tremendous development over the past few years. Unfortunately, going into FY27, there's a decline. we've seen no new growth numbers, over $1 million. However, in FY 27, we're looking at only $350,000 based on the projection of new growth. We look at our local receipts, and local receipts include things listed here. Those are your meals, room tax, your RTF fees, and all your other fees, building permits, your ambulance, any special assessment, investment incomes, all of those things go into your local receipts. Next one. So we talk about, when we talk about the budget formula and structure, we talk about the schools and public education, and typically that is 61% of the budget. For FY 27, as of right now, we are proposing $26 million to the schools. For town services, it's 39% of the budget, and we're looking at about $17 million. This excludes those mandatory shared costs. But when we talk about town services, we're talking about public safety, the Department of Public Works, community services, and all other general government. When you look at the school share of new revenue in FY 27, you're looking at about $1.1 million. And the town share of new revenue is about $760,000. The school budget, as recommended, currently sits at the $26 million and the town at the $17 million. That is an increase to both just over 4%. Slide, please. When we look at the proposed budget by department, you'll see at the bottom line, you'll see it's a little higher than the $17 million that we're talking about in the previous slide. And that is simply because some of these departments have indirect costs that hit that shared mandatory budget. But we can go down the line items and you'll see, you know, the town manager's budget has declined from FY 26. You'll see a slight increase in human resources. The finance is fairly flat. The assessors is again fairly flat. Treasurer collector, a slight increase. Our chief technology officer already gave his presentation this evening, and you'll see that's relatively flat. The departments that you're seeing the increase in, aside from these others that are relatively flat, when you look at the police department, yes, you do see an increase, and that is attributed to the SHREC dispatch center, which we absorbed a $100,000 increase just this year. Fire department, we are funding for 24 positions within this budget. The building department, you'll see there's a decline in that, and that's simply because the building department revolving fund is absorbing some of the fees that would normally have been built into this budget, but because the creation of the revolving fund, we're able to take those out. Emergency management, you see a small decline, and that's because the number that was there was for a training that was provided last year is no longer needed this year. The harbor budget, there's some maintenance, and because the waterways transfer is going to happen this year, they didn't reduce their budget by that $10,000 number. Department of Public Works, you'll see a slight increase. Snow and ice, as we discussed earlier, it's at $127,000. It is the only account that can really be overspent and recaptured at the end of the year. The RTF, we have a slight increase there. I think that's due to the overall management of the facility. Facilities, we already discussed, there's a slight decline there, and that is attributed to their funds,
Contingency.
their contingency funds, and the ability for them to go to the reserve fund if needed. The health account, that there was a decrease there. We were able to hire at a lower rate for that, as well as push some of the funding off onto a grant. Elder affairs, a slight increase, but nothing major there. Veterans, so there's a decrease in that budget simply because they're speaking to the veterans agent. There is a fund that they no longer use for one reason or another. The library, there's a slight increase in recreation is fairly flat. A lot of questions are to, how many FTEs are within the town? I can tell you there's 125 FTEs on the town side.
That's police, fire, that's
That's
everything,
every department on the town side.
excluding any seasonal.
That's excluding seasonal for
Okay.
recreation. However, that does include part-time employees that we've rolled up. So it equals 125 FTE.
Yep.
So as we've all spoke about, in the past, there are funding challenges with every budget. More so, I feel as of this year over last year. We have fixed costs and we have to fund them. So we have the rising costs of health insurance, we have our pension obligations, we have utilities and insurance, and we have debt service payments. These must be paid year over year. We have very little control over cost of health insurance, the pension obligation, and the other utilities and insurance. The other challenge is contractual wage agreements. This year, we negotiated all new contracts for all of these departments. These are 3-year contracts, and they include the Department of Public Works, facilities, superior officers, police officers, firefighters, facilities, and teachers. So these are significant increases to our salary line items, and once again, they are contractual. I do have to say, through this budget process, it's not only the school side that felt some pain and reductions. We are also looking at reductions on the town side to balance the budget and to make sure that all departments are running most efficiently. We have a communication specialist position that is funded full-time. We are going to fund that part-time. We have an assistant planner position. That position is being eliminated. We're going to reduce the hours at the Paul Pratt Library, closing on Sundays. Currently, they're open for 3 hours on Sundays. We are from what I understand, one of the only public libraries around that is open 7 days a week. The town cleaner, the position was eliminated and it's going to be absorbed in the facilities staff with the facility staff. In the assistant town manager finance director position, there was a salary reduction simply because of the starting wage would be lower when someone comes in. We also asked all departments to look at their expenses and reduce them by 3 to 5%, and that's where we found additional savings. So through all of these reductions and savings, we were able to build a balanced budget and afford the schools with more opportunities so they didn't see additional reductions.
I just had one question on this. With the town planning office, with the town planner, I realize this is for the assistant, but is the town planner going to be able to take on the same amount of grants that they have in the past? Because we've been able to secure an amount far beyond what the salaries are, planning department for the town.
Sure. So we are going to shift some of those responsibilities.
Okay.
So there's a lot of shift of responsibilities within the employees that we currently have. While our planner is going to be taking on the zoning role as well, that the assistant planner did take on, there are other staff members that will be able to apply for grants, of course, with her input, but they'll be able to do that heavy lift.
Great, thank you.
So all of these decisions weren't made lightly. It's a challenging budget cycle. I know we're talking about an override in 2028. And we are prepared to have someone come in and work with us on a 5-year forecast. As soon as this budget is approved, we have someone to come in and work on a 5-year financial forecast for us to pivot us to an override in 2028.
Any more questions? Or you want to come back now? Mr. Grady?
No, but I want to thank you all for that hard work you put in. Not easy, especially when you have to make cuts, trim things, and And I think a 5-year forecast looking at override is the correct way of doing things. Instead of just throwing it out, hitting the wall with it and hoping it sticks. It's just not something that we're ready for. I like the planning that's going into it.
Okay, so my turn. Okay,
It is. That's always good.
okay. 10,000 questions, Paul.
Here we
Keep you
go.
here all
Don't
night.
worry about it.
No, so first of all, just so everyone understands, I mean, Michelle, actually, Kevin, if you could go back a few slides. That one. Okay, so the fixed cost. So the numbers that Ms. Leary presented earlier were truly the operational costs within the budget. And so that everyone understands, there are other 3-digit department codes that are soft costs. We have 710, 720, and 730, non-excluded debt principal, capital fund debt principal, excluded debt principal, and that's $1.1 million to $1.2 million every year out of our budget. Okay, not attributed to any particular department. We have state assessments, 820, 830, and Norfolk County tax, and that's a little over $500,000. And then we have what's up there. We have all the 900 departments, 911, 912, 913, 914, 915, 916, and 945. And I kind of call these soft operational costs: county pension, workers' comp, unemployment, health insurance, life insurance, Medicare tax, and risk management, for $12.2 million in FY26, which is 19.6% of our total budget. So those costs, which don't go to really any department, are slightly smaller, well, no, more than slightly smaller than the town operating budget. And when people say, well, where does all the money go? Well, $12.2 million go to these things, which are non-negotiables. I mean, the town works hard every year negotiating on health insurance and life insurance, which is, life insurance is $12,000 out of that whole number. Medicare tax is fixed. Risk management, you're kind of at the mercy of the insurer. So Norfolk County pension, we were fortunate that the PEP committee was able to negotiate a longer end year, because that $3.6 million assessment could have jumped to 4.5 without that rollover. And people need to, understand how critically important that particular negotiation was, and health insurance costs. So when people say, where does all the money go? That's a big portion of it, in addition to the operating costs. The other thing that I wanted to bring up on this budget at 2.5%, when we had the meeting with the school committee and the advisory committee reviewing the school budget at the time, the schools were discussing the fact that circuit breaker isn't fully funded. And I think the governor's report just came out and it was funded at 61% or 62%. And it's mandated to be funded at 75%. And every school district will like to have it funded at 100%. And the way to get those things changed is to write to our state representative and our state senator and start demanding of the government to do what is mandated, which is funded at least at 75%. The other thing that we can do in every single community around us is grappling. All you have to do is read South Shore News, and thank God, I think that's an excellent source of information, is to see all of the budget angst that everyone is having in communities on the greater South Shore. And in order to avoid that angst, it's time that this archaic 1980 Proposition 2.5, which, as we all know, doesn't keep up with inflation, gets back again to our state representative and our state senator to say, we need some change on this. You know, what does 1% shift do for, different municipalities? And maybe it's 2.5% as a range. And until we start making some noise about it, and yes, there are communities who don't want it because of their socioeconomic situation, and I understand that, but its intent was good, but it's outlived its practical applicability. And so I would encourage everyone who's listening to write to our representatives, because that's what they're there for, is to hear from us on this particular issue. And then just finally, regarding with what Ms. Leary said about an override, is for FY28, I think, again, as we discussed at that joint meeting, is to really look strategically on an override over a period of time, because it's going to take a while, probably beyond my lifetime in public service, to correct 2.5, but to look at how do we structure a 5-year override so that schools can plan, towns can plan, your town departments can plan. We can look at projects that need to be funded. We can look at staffing that we need to have to do those projects. And how do we fund, how do we structure and present to the town an override that is logical and makes sense. And that work will be here before we know it. And I think if we do it for a period of time, as opposed to year after year after year, we would be better served. And that's all I have to say on that.
I just had one other thing.
Sure.
On the finance director position, is in the future, maybe we should discuss that, about whether want to keep it, amend it, change it, or otherwise, because we haven't had good luck putting it out there to try and get one, and it's an executive position, so it does command a certain salary. But the reality of the situation here is that everyone around the state is looking for finance directors, and if you can do it in a small town like Cohasset, you could do it in a bigger town for a much bigger salary, because all you're doing is moving the decimal point over one. So to the talent recruitment for that is a little bit tough. So I think after maybe we've settled on the town manager process here, that could be revisited. Maybe it's changed to another position or something like that. But that would be for a full discussion later. That's just one thought on that. And I'll just say, regarding 2.5, I think people forget what it was like before Prop 2.5, because it was the 70s. So that's a long time ago. But, that was a high inflation time as well. And the reason Prop 2.5 came was because you had runaway costs, and you would have contracts come up with the different segments that were bargained, and they would have substantial increases in there that because there was no cap on what they could get. So I think it's always something to look at, but I do think that 2.5 was, I think people should go back to look at the history and the reasons of why it was instituted in the first place. And then go from there. Thanks.
I agree with you. I think it was very much needed back then, because budgets and towns were just taxing the bejesus out of everybody. I'm just saying 2.5% as the cap has outlived itself, not the concept of it. Okay. All right. Thank you, Michelle. Town manager update.
So I know it's late. I just wanted to highlight some of the things that happened during the storm. I do want to thank our facility staff, our DPW, our public safety folks, and our emergency management folks. There was a lot of coordination throughout the storm. I do have lists and lists of things that may have happened during the storm that people aren't aware of. I don't know that we want to go through them all right now, but I'm happy to put them in writing and put them on the website so people can see. We've had significant challenges with equipment breaking down, not only DPW equipment, but we had fire engines breaking down, ambulances stuff. We had 3 police cars that now have lights on and we don't know what's wrong with them. We had the sidewalk plow broke down not once but twice. We had vehicles stuck on Forest Ave. So there were a lot of things that had happened during that duration of the storm. I'm not sure that the community fully appreciates everything that was happening. I can understand, you're stuck in your house, you want to get out, you need your road plowed. But they did take over 200 calls of my road's not plowed yet. When are you going to get to me? And it was very challenging because some of the equipment we have isn't made for storms like this.
Yeah.
So you contract with a private vendor and they have a pickup truck with a small plow. That's not going to help us with this storm, albeit they tried, but I think the breakdowns were more significant than we thought. And we only had 12 employees at the DPW working the storm. The challenge with that is 2 of them were off the road almost the entire time fixing broken equipment. So there were several challenges throughout the storm. Like I said, I will write up a report so everyone can see it. But I just want to thank them because despite all these challenges, they did great. I think the town looks great. They do a really good job for us. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I thank you to all the DPW and all the workers who were working there and dealing with all those challenges. I would say one thing, and it's just a concept for the conversation in the future is I realize it's an anomaly year for snow. We usually get about 40 to 60 inches, give or take. We've had a couple lean years before that where we didn't get much. But I do think it's a conversation to have that maybe not just us, but maybe sharing with some other towns is that the town's looking to getting some snow melters. Because the fact is when we push this amount of snow, we have nowhere to put it. And I realize that people are going to say, well, look at it on the calculator. But I think if you add all the trucks that we have to put the snow on and then move it to Sandy Beach and other places from downtown, and all the trucks we have to use and the diesel and everything else, not including the other parking lots, I think that when you get a backup storm from one to the other, that a snow melter can go through 5 tons in an hour and just melt it. And then it would be gone. And then the town is open. It doesn't affect the business as much downtown, among other things. And again, something like that could be shared with other towns because we're certainly not going to need it for, hours and hours and hours on end. But the other towns could, I'm sure, use it as well, especially for the schools, because once you push the snow, you've got nowhere to move it. And of course, when you get that next snow on top of it, then the equipment can't move it because it doesn't have the power to move it. So it's just a thought for a conversation for the future.
Okay. Anything else? No? Select board comments. Mr. Grady?
Well, I wanted to parrot Michelle. She stole my thunder. That's one thing I did want to say is that, and thank you for keeping the parts moving.
You can.
DPW, police, fire. I mean, the town looks great.
Bring it up.
I saw some missteps or mishappenstance, I should say, with the vehicles. I mean, they're all unavoidable. I saw a guy on the Derby Street driving a Prius right off the road. I mean, there were some things that people shouldn't have done, and for the most part, they didn't. But I just wanted to say thank you. I mean, it cleaned up fast, and you guys did a great job all around. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Farag?
Great, thank you. I just want to thank everybody once again, the DPW and all the workers that helped in the storms. I also want to thank the town for keeping open the senior center here, which was open as a warming center. But there was a number of people who used it, including me, who was without power for multiple days. And so it was great to come here and have a place to go. I would say in the future that beyond our budget, there's a number of things that we look to the future, and that the town is looking into resetting a whole bunch of things. Not only on the leadership side, the schools have, of course, gotten a new superintendent as of last year. We're going through the town manager search now. So not only there's a reset with the leadership team, but also when we look towards the capital items and the infrastructure of this town, which is going to set things for the next 50 years. And of course, that includes the public safety building, which will be coming up, as well as the fire station. And then, of course, there'll be a process for the schools as they're in the MSB program. And then finally, coming years down the line will be the water department. But I think people should know that, if we can work through these things and come together as a town, this town will be set for the next 50 years. We certainly want to go through everything, look through it thoroughly, do things efficiently and get the best price we can. But we also want to, when we build things, we want to build it once and build it right. So that it will last and sustain generations to come and not just for next year. So with that being said, I'm happy that we're all a part of this process, but I hope that we've had some new people I know checking in tonight for the first time who might not have seen meetings before. And I hope we get to see them and they can keep watching the meetings again and follow the budget process as we go through it. And as a town, we deal with all these important issues. And we should know that we're not unlike other towns in that we do have some things already completed. Obviously, the senior center here, we're sitting in, it's completed, and it's fantastic. If you saw the town next to us, Hingham, they're looking to create a senior center, and I believe it's going north of $29 million to create their senior center. Well, we've already got ours. The library, of course, it's already built there, and it's working tremendously. Other towns are trying to look at libraries, north of $20 million. So we do have a few things to fix and create on the ledger, but I think we can get through it as a town. And finally, I think that the other things is that when you're looking for information, our new town website is a fantastic place to get information regarding the town. It's all been redone. You can see it's colorful and easy to go through. But make sure to get your information through there. We do our own benchmarking, of course, through a number of different means through the years, and we might end up doing that in other ways going forward. But it's important to make sure that you get the right statistics. And I've seen with some of the other meetings that have happened that those statistics that were relied on were not necessarily correct. And that can cause issues when we're trying to make decisions on things for the town that are going to go for the next 50 years. So we want to make sure that we're all at least operating with the right information. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll keep my comments brief and just on that topic. Ms. Leary and I had a very, very brief conversation about benchmarking. And I think we see lots of different analysis that's out there that people are doing or taking the time and effort to do benchmarking. And I think it would be very good for the community if we came together with a set of benchmark towns. Who do we compare ourselves to? Who do we aspire to be? And who is chasing us sometimes is also a good benchmark. And what are the metrics? And more importantly, where do we get the data from? And have it be consistent and have it be very transparent so that everyone is looking at the same information in the same way. And, perhaps once we get through this budget cycle, if I'm still on the board next year, I might make it one of our select board goals to, develop this matrix and source and where do we source the information from on that. I watched capital budget last night for a little while. Mr. Menard talked about his request. Mr. Joyce talked about his request. The big topic of conversation was 135 King Street. And I just, I think dialogue and debate is good and healthy. It surprises me that there continues to be calls for what are the other options. And I think that it's been asked and answered multiple times that other locations were scouted before at the beginning of this process. And it was special town meeting 2023. So we've been on this for 2 years. And the point of the enlarged public safety facility working group, now the public safety facility committee, was to take the plans, which we didn't have all the questions answered, and take a look at them and see what could be done to answer the questions from capital and advisory at that last joint meeting before special town meeting last fall. And where could we make some economies in the plans? Not to start looking at other locations, not to start looking at, the space allocation. I mean, the building is the building. And we heard from the OPM, and to Mr. Farag's point about a new senior center, being built from the ground up on town-owned land is $30 million. So I just think that we need to stay focused on how we can get to a building, how we can get 135 King Street to a functioning public safety police station at a cost that we can substantiate. And that should be the focus, not talking about other options ad nauseum, because I think that ship has sailed. Everything's been looked at. I would love to hear an option if someone else has an option, but all I hear is what are the other options? And it's not productive. It's not productive to moving this forward. So
Well, it is the same person asking the question over and over again. I'll say that, and it's been answered to that person over and over again.
well, it just stopped. It just
Been
stopped.
explained.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's just a smoke screen looking for another reason just to start.
Yeah. We need to continue with forward momentum, wherever that takes us, and this constant rehashing back. I just didn't find productive in the conversation last night. I found it quite unsettling. So,
Can I add something to that?
okay.
What to me is, what are we doing to the morale of our police force? The people that are out there working for us day in, day out through this storm. What are we doing to their morale? By showing them how much you have other towns proposing beautiful new police departments, public safety. We got a chief who's up there who's attending every meeting, along with running a force and doing a number of other things. You have some great guys. My thought is this on the public safety. There are other departments that will take our guys. And for those that would like to quote unquote defund the police or knock it down to a single cell or just, put up a horse and buggy, I think that we've got to get on the same page.
Yeah. So,
The proposal up and get it running.
right. So I believe the request from Capitol last night was for a meeting on March 19th or 19th. Is that a Thursday?
Meeting was a request of the public safety
Public safety. I'm sorry, I misspoke.
on March 19th.
Which is a Thursday as a single topic meeting. Okay, so that's 2 meetings that week, the 17th and the 19th.
As long as it's 7:30 on,
We're at the end.
Oh, the 7th, no,
the 19th,
the 19th is going to be a problem.
Thursday.
Thursday, the 19th. Yeah, unless we go at 7:30.
7:30 on is fine.
And
Can we do it earlier in the day? Can we do it earlier in the day? Could.
I don't get Wi-Fi by the pool, sorry.
What time do you go to the pool? 10? Can we do it at 8?
No,
If it's a single topic, you can do it at 7:30. Yeah.
all right, well, we still have a little bit of time. So, and Wednesday's out because that's advisory? Is that the reason?
No, I don't think there was enough time. I think because they're getting the bids on the 13th. Correct me if I'm wrong. The bids are coming in on the 13th. The OPM needs to review them. They won't have them reviewed and back to the committee because the committee is going to meet on Tuesday.
But you'd think Wednesday we'd be able to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back.
Well, we have an agenda meeting on Thursday morning for the 10th. So let's kind of look at the 10th and the 17th because I am away and I would like to
Be away.
be away. But I'm happy to do one meeting and who said that? So I think the priority is the public safety building. So
Yes.
if we can do that, to David's point, earlier in the day at we'll discuss it during our agenda meeting, but I understand what the mission is. And if we can avoid March 17th and for all the Irishmen who can go out and celebrate St. Patrick's Day, Situate has moved their annual parade to April.
What'd they do that for?
because they don't think downtown's going to be clean in the weather. So, we'll work it out, but just for us in our heads to know that the 19th
Sure.
or perhaps the
19th is the ideal date. The 18th, I think we could accommodate.
19th is my birthday. It's not ideal.
Okay.
I was here last year on my birthday,
Okay, but we'll get that worked out and get it worked out with,
but I'll show. But I expect. At least.
so perhaps should that be a, dare I,
Meeting?
yeah,
I don't think that's a terrible idea. I think we're running out of time and I think we want the warrant as buttoned up as we can. I know in prior years, we've gone to town meeting without votes on significant items. And I just think if we can get everyone at the same place at the same time, let's just,
I think the public safety building, we have to come in with a vote.
yeah.
Just, we have to come in tight and ready to go and present to the town.
I think advisory is probably important to have at this meeting. So we'll have to ping them.
okay,
Not that capital budget isn't important, but they've been getting
they get regular.
they get regular updates from Kathy Forrest. So, let's strategize on that. Let's, only put
Skew it though.
let's just put the public facility committee like in one, not have them go through everything.
Advisory has a meeting tomorrow night. I can just give them the heads up. The request is gonna come to have a joint meeting.
Okay. Okay, so that's that. No topics, reasonably anticipated. We have a plethora of minutes to approve. Was everybody at them? Were you at all of them, David? Oh, for
27, I think.
Yes.
No,
Okay, so we were all at all of them. I printed them. I just don't know in this cadre of paper where okay. So can any comments on them? No, okay. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes of January 27th, February 3rd, February 5th, February 10th, and February 13th, 2026?
So moved.
May I have a second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we do have a meeting on schedule for next Tuesday. We'll revert back on the 17th and 18th or 19th. Anything else? You look like you were about to say something. No, okay. So can I have a motion to adjourn at 9:17 PM?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Only 17 minutes behind
Drive
schedule.
chair.